For lesson 31, I started putting the warm-up in to get your brain working, kind of like same reason we would do for exercise. We like to jog around, get the blood flowing. So that's what this is for, and it's really good practice at mental math, because mental math is important, that you have tricks. So how about you go ahead and do this, and so pause me, do this, see how fast you can get through it, and then I'll go through it really quick and give the answers. If you don't want to listen to me talk, you can go ahead and fast forward after you do this and check your answers in the answer key or ask a parent. All right, so ready, begin. So you should have these done. I'm going to go ahead and do $4 minus 99 cents is almost like 4 minus $1, except add a penny. So that is going to be $3.01. 7 times 35 is kind of like, let's see, 7 times 30, which is 210, plus 5 times 7, so 210 plus 35, so we get 245, or $2.45. All right, 2/3 equals 8/12, 18/24. 6 goes into both of those, that turns into 3/4. Okay, square root of 100 plus 3 squared is 10 plus 9, which is 19. And 3/4 of 60, I take 60 divided into fourths, so 15. 1/4 is 15. 3 of those is 45. All right, I feel warmed up. I hope you do too. And I guess there was a G I didn't write. Oh, I don't always do the story problem that came with it. So I just did what I felt like. Because I'm a teacher, I guess I get to do that. Now we're going to jump in talking about decimal numbers. And I'll try and go through it pretty quick for you. Each of these has numbers behind the decimal point. And what they want us to know is these can all be written as fractions. They are all fractions with a multiple of 10 on the bottom, or a placeholder. So and that's what makes them find the placeholder. So we write this 3/10. So these all are fractions with a multiple of 10 below. So this is 3/100, and this is 3/1000, and this one is 21/100, because the 21 ends in the hundredths spot, hundredths place, so it is 21/100. So now let's go ahead and just do some examples. Write 7/10 as a fraction and as a decimal. All right, 7/10. This should not be too difficult. That's 7 out of 10, 7/10. As a decimal, it would be 0.7, because that is in the tenths spot. Let's look at example 2. Name the shaded part of the square as a fraction and as a decimal. So we have 100 boxes total, and we have 23 boxes shaded in. So it's 23/100, and we write that like this. Now, I don't always include the 0 in front of the decimal point, so I will do that sometimes, and I will not do it sometimes, and it's neither right or wrong if you leave this 0 off. This just is a placeholder. It's kind of a visual placeholder. You can write it also as just 0.23. Next page is a nice picture of, if I can get to it, a couple pictures of some just illustrations. You can't see this on camera very well, but you have it on your own. So I like you to just see that when we go past the decimal spot, they underlined or sidelined the THS. When we are in decimal world, everything ends in THS. It's exactly as it was in the non-decimal values. They just add THS. So here's another way that they show it with the fractions. So we have 1/10, 100th, 1,000th, 1/10,000th, 100,000ths, and so on. It's a mirror of the whole number side. This is a nice big one. the decimal point. One thing that is always weird to me is there's a ones here, but there's no ones in decimal world. So it immediately starts in tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and so on. So let's go ahead and look at example 3. In the number 12.3456789, now if you were to read that as a fraction, or you would read that without writing 0.3 or saying 0.3, you would actually say it mathematically. Let's see. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions, 10 millions. So we would say 12 and 3,456,789 millionths. No, sorry, 10 millionths. So anyway, crazy, right? We don't usually have to do that. All right, in here though, which digit is in the thousandths place? So we're going to look tens, hundreds, thousandths. 5 is in the thousandths place. Name the place occupied by the 7 in this number, 4.63471. So that would be tens, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. So it would be 63,471 10,000ths would be how we would say that. But they're not asking us to do that. The 7 is in the tenths, hundreds, thousands, 10,000ths. So make sure we write this correctly. 10, we don't need to actually hyphenate it. Oh, yes, we do. Sorry, it's up here. I forgot, in the tens we hyphenate. Thousandths, THS. Make sure we spell it. So it's just thousand with THS on it. Read this decimal number. So this we do actually have to, when it says read it, we actually need to write it the way we would read it out loud. So you're going to say 123. And once we get to this, so 123, when we get to the decimal point, that's the only time you're allowed to say and. Sometimes we sneak it in other places, but that's the only appropriate time to say and. Then we'd say 123, and again we say 123. Again. But we end with tenths, hundreds, thousandths. Like so. 123 and 123 thousandths. Use digits to write these decimal numbers. 75 thousandths. So I'm going to use my placeholder there, my visual placeholder, and 75 thousandths. So it's going to actually be, because we want the 5 to be in the thousandth spot, tens, hundreds, thousandths. Okay. 111 hundredths. Now remember, this word and should always be a decimal point. So what we have in front of it is 100 and 11 hundredths. So we're in the hundredths. That's just going to be right there. Tens, hundredths. Tenths, hundredths. Sorry, I'm trying to enunciate the THS, but it's a little difficult. Now we're going to go ahead and do your practice. You can shut me off if you're done with me today. 8 minutes. You're welcome. And if you get stuck, go ahead and come back and watch this. But I will kind of zip through this, doing the best I can. All right, write 300ths as a fraction and write it as a decimal. Name the shaded part as both a fraction and as a decimal. So that's 3/10, and that's 3/10. In the number that, which digit is in the thousandths? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. The number 36.4375 is how many decimal places? So we would count 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 decimal places. Use words to write this. So we're going to say 25 and 100 34 thousandths. Let's see, do I have room on my paper to spell it correctly? Yes. Let's see if we can say 25 and 134 thousandths. Next one, use words to write this. We would say 100 and 1/100th. Use digits to write each decimal number. 102, so that's going to be 102 and 3/10. 125 10,000. So there is no and in there, so it's going to all be in the decimal world. So 125 10,000. So we want 25 to be out to the 10,000 spot, which is actually 4 decimal places. 375 thousandths. And that is it. Very straightforward.